I want to bring it back to political analyst Matlala Setlhalogile, who's been joining me since this morning. And I did say that we'd circle back to this issue of the number of people who vote. Oftentimes don't turn up in that volume. I'd be very surprised, wouldn't you, if 27 million people cast their ballots, notwithstanding some of the administrative issues that have kept some people away, which we're hoping that the IEC in about 18 minutes or so is going to give some clarity on. But we are not going to see that level of people show up to the ballot. And it's interesting, some studies are talking about why some people are staying away from the ballots. Corruption is having a detrimental impact on people's sentiments. But this I found quite interesting, according to the ISS, that people acknowledge the importance of voting to bring about change, but do not identify voting as the best way to achieve the change. And that is so interesting, that this might not be the means that people think the things that they want, need, and need to experience will actually materialize. Yeah.
Iman, I think the issue there might be the absence of effective accountability measures in between elections. Also, one thing that most people tend to ignore is that a deliberate action not to go cast a vote becomes a deliberate inaction, meaning that you're actually fully participating in electoral processes, but you just opting not to actually go and participate. It's a very conscious decision when you take a deliberate action to say, I'm not going to vote. So you are participating, but through some form of protest in the electoral processes. But I think what the ISS highlights mostly, it goes together with voter education. You'd remember that we spoke earlier about changes in legislation, right? The extent to which the IEC has actually conducted voter education, has it been in line with the previous instances, or has it been enhanced to actually accommodate the extensive changes that they have implemented for these elections? And one of the key important things, obviously, is always political culture. Sometimes it's not a matter of access to information, but it is what do you use that access to actually, what kind of information do you use the access for? I think there's prevalence of disengagement from political processes and political issues in South African context. Sometimes people might believe that just because you know when elections are taking place, you're excited about elections, that generally paints a picture of someone who is actually engaged or interested in political processes. Quite a majority of South Africans don't even know how government functions, how government works. Yeah. That in itself will paint a picture of people who do not necessarily show the right amount or the expected levels of political engagement.
Which leads me to the point around, and I've been thinking about it a lot over the last couple of days, especially since, you know, what we've been seeing in terms of people saying, I'm not sure how this ballot works. I was speaking to former Nigerian President, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, about one of the issues as the election observers that they are noting might become a bit problematic as they begin to observe these elections and see where the problems were, is not enough voter education around the triple ballot system. So we've got the three. We've got the blue, the brown or the burnt orange, and then the pink ballot paper. And in one of the crossings there with our reporters speaking to voters there saying, you know, this is also expressing that this is one of the things that we're not quite sure about, weren't really informed about, is that we're certainly going to have to ramp things up. And it shouldn't only be around election season, that people understand what voting means, what shape and form it takes, and what the requirements might be. It needs to be part of an ongoing thing. Did you make the same observation that there is certainly a dearth of information? Not a dearth of information, because the IC has been out there, but in some of the detail, you know, not enough work has been done.
Not enough work. And funny enough that you mentioned the IEC and we talk about voter education. I remember about a week or two ago, there is another tweet in a quiz form asking you know, voters which of the ballots represents the national vote. The answer is actually 2 ballots represent the national vote, but the IEC's own quiz got it incorrect. So those are some of the things that we've picked up in terms of the level of voter education and also the quality of voter education that is coming out of the IEC in the process. And as I said, it's not only the issue just of the number of ballots. There has been changes in terms of the Section 24 votes. You have to apply to vote at a different voting station. There has been a number of changes in electoral processes and electoral legislation. The amount of voter education was not necessarily equal to the task for the substantive changes.
Matlala, thank you very much for being with us and adding that substance to our conversation.